gentleman we have working for us at home, Eugene, answered the door and came back and said, "The projectionist is here." I said, "Fine."
On January 23, 2005, a king died. The man who said goodnight to America for 30 years was gone. Johnny Carson passed away at a hospital in Los Angeles. He was 79 years old, but there was no funeral, no big service for people to say goodbye. No friends or family gathered together. The man who was on TV for millions died all alone. His nephew told everyone a simple thing: there will be no memorial service. This choice surprised many people. But it was just how Johnny was. Johnny was a very private person. His friend Ed said Johnny was happy on TV, but not with a few people. The world was sad by itself. Fans left flowers at his star on the sidewalk. But with no funeral, who was the secret guest? The answer is a story he tried to forget. It's not about who came that day. It's about who was not there for a long time. A broken friendship that hurt both of them very much. It changed the rest of their lives. The secret guest at Johnny Carson's funeral was Joan Rivers. By the end of this video, you will know why this story bothered him. On January 23, 2005, Johnny Carson died in Los Angeles. He was 79 years old. The cause was a lung sickness. His nephew announced a short message to the world. "There will be no memorial service," he said. This choice shocked the country. His body was turned to ash and given to his wife. There was no public ceremony for a man seen by millions. His friend Ed said Johnny was at ease with huge crowds but shy with small groups. His final show had 50 million viewers, yet his death was seen by a handful. Fans left flowers at his Hollywood star, but the name everyone discussed was Joan Rivers. Without a funeral, her tale became his eulogy. To understand their story, we must go back to 1965. Before she was famous, Joan Rivers struggled as a comedian in the early 1960s. She worked in small clubs, sometimes sleeping in her car. She auditioned for The Tonight Show 7 times and failed every time. By 1965, at 31, people said her career was over. Then came February 17th, 1965. It was a magical night. The audience connected with her immediately. As her set ended, Johnny Carson leaned toward her. He said 7 words that changed her life. "You're going to be a star." From that night, she became a Tonight Show regular, making nearly 100 appearances. By the mid-80s, Joan Rivers felt her job was unsafe. Carson got a 2-year deal from NBC. She only got a 1-year deal. It felt like a bad sign. Then a secret memo went around the office. It listed names to replace Johnny someday, but her name was nowhere on the list. Why would they leave her out? A new network, Fox, then made her a huge offer. Her own show, on at the same time as Carson's. The pay was $10 million. Her husband told her to stay silent. He feared Johnny would stop the deal, so she told no one. It was a choice that would haunt her forever. The weekend before the announcement, the news leaked. What happened next has 2 versions. Joan said she was horrified he heard from someone else. She called him to explain. He said absolutely nothing and hung up. She called back and he hung up again. They never spoke again. But Johnny's story was completely different. He said that phone call never happened. He learned about it from the press like everyone else. He felt completely betrayed. Why was his reaction so extreme? Joan knew why. "He thought I was his property," she said. For a man, leaving was ambition. For a woman, it was treason. The king had been defied, and his wrath would be devastating. Johnny Carson was the most powerful man in TV. He used his power to punish her. She was banned from The Tonight Show forever. His punishment went deeper. He created a blacklist. Stars on her show were banned from his. Almost everyone chose Carson. Joan couldn't book big stars. An NBC friend warned, "We will destroy you." Without big guests, her show struggled. Fox gave her an ultimatum: fire your husband or be fired. She refused. Fox fired them both. The failure was humiliating, but a worse tragedy was coming. The show failed, leaving them with huge debts. The public shame was crushing. 3 months later, Edgar made a terrible choice. He took his own life. Joan Rivers was now completely alone. Her career was in ruins. Her husband was gone. But the worst part was the silence. From the man who once championed her, there was nothing Johnny Carson never called. He never sent a note, not one word of kindness. This silence showed a side of Carson no one had seen. A man whose grudge was stronger than his compassion. Joan felt like she was in exile. "It was like Stalin sent me to Siberia," she said. The king had spoken his final sentence, and it was absolute. For 18 years, the silence never broke. Carson retired in 1992. He vanished into a private life in Malibu. No interviews, no public words about their feud. Joan had to rebuild her career from nothing. She worked on TV specials and red carpets, but the Tonight Show band stayed. Even after Johnny was gone, in interviews her feelings were mixed. She called him a mean son of a bitch, then said he was the most brilliant straight man. The pain never really faded. Before her own death, she imagined a different ending. "Johnny should have had me back on the show," she said. "He should have asked, 'Where you been?' It would have been a moment of forgiveness, but that moment never came. When Johnny Carson died, everyone thought of Joan Rivers. She was the ghost that haunted his legacy. The one loose end he could never tie up with no funeral. Her story became his eulogy. Her reaction was mixed, bitterness and respect. She didn't regret taking the Fox show, but she mourned the forgiveness that never came. Years later, she still searched for closure. On her reality show, she visited his grave. Cameras watched as she spoke to the empty air. The irony was painful. Carson had retreated into silence. Joan had to live with the consequences openly. She became the only historian of their broken friendship. His side was only silence. At his death, her voice was the loudest echo of his past. So who was the surprise guest at Johnny Carson's funeral? It wasn't a person standing in a church. It was the memory of someone he built up, and the one person he could never forgive. Joan Rivers was the unexpected guest, not in body, but in story. Why did she dominate the conversation? Because when a beloved man dies, people want to know, was there anyone he couldn't forgive? Was there any darkness behind his smile? The answer was yes. Joan Rivers was that darkness. Her story forced people to face an uncomfortable truth. Even legends can be unforgiving. In refusing to forgive her, Carson made her unforgettable. He tried to erase her. Instead, she became the one story no one could forget. In the end, Johnny got the quiet exit he wanted. No big funeral, no grand memorial, but that silence was filled by the story of Joan. The unexpected guest wasn't a person, but a memory. A friendship born on camera with one sentence, destroyed off camera with a phone call. There was no forgiveness, no grace. It was a testament to the loyalty he demanded and the price of betrayal. In trying to erase her, he made her his legacy. She became the story. She became the eulogy. The guest at the funeral that never happened. There was no funeral, no memorial, no gathering, but the world held one anyway. The name spoken most wasn't Leno's or Letterman's. It was Joan Rivers' unresolved pain is louder than any eulogy. The one he silenced became the only voice people remembered. In trying to erase her, he made her unforgettable. The ghost he rejected became his final legacy. Johnny Carson died with no funeral, but his memorial lived in stories. The name everyone mentioned was Joan Rivers. She became the guest at the funeral that never happened. In trying to erase her, he made her his legacy. What do you think about their story? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more untold Hollywood secrets.